So South African Airways denying claims that flights are not safe as industrial action continues. Trade union Numsa warning passengers not to fly SAA, claiming that the airline is relying on inexperienced workers to do the work of safety officers in terms of the cabin crew. The unions, who've been on strike since Friday, are demanding an 8% salary hike, while SAA is offering 5.9% pay rise. SAA Chief Commercial Officer Phillip Saunders says the comments by the union are disgraceful. Natasha Moni is a labour law expert at Moni Attorneys Incorporated. She joins us now. Very good evening to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, so let's just talk about these allegations. Has a line been crossed here?
It definitely has. What you're trying to do is you're trying to force, by way of strike, your expectation, and that is 8%. Now, the SAA has come back and said, and there were a whole lot of other things that the union wanted, but the union can only go on one particular point, and that is the 8% increase in terms of their salary. SAA has turned around and said, we can give you 5.9, but that's only if the money comes in. Now, where is this money coming from? And how is SAA going to get this? That's the very real issue here. And why go on strike when you haven't changed your constitution as you were meant to have done?
In order to accommodate the secret ballot? Absolutely.
And it's not only the secret ballot, it's that you have a record of the vote, so that you make sure that those people who want to go on strike, or those people who were forced to go on strike, actually wanted and intended to go on strike, and intended to strike with no pay whatsoever.
Okay, so we'll look at the amendments that are to be made to the Act in just a moment, and what Numsa then is in danger of by not complying with the law. But more importantly, when I asked, has a line been crossed? I'm wondering what then is within the purview legally of SAA if it wants to take legal action against Numsa or the unions that are making these claims.
Well, I think in terms of the defamation and the disgraceful conduct on the part of Numsa, there certainly is a line that has been crossed. But I believe that SAA has every right to go to the Labour Court and to ask for the strike to be interdicted. It has happened twice before to Numsa, in Bear and Foscor, where Numsa wanted to strike, and both strikes were interdicted. And there the judge turned around and said that the secret strike ballot is not stopping you from striking, it's allowing you to strike within the limits of the law.
And of course, what Numsa has said in the past is that it's going to be a monumental task to comply with the law, simply saying that it's almost impossible to do that. Is it impossible?
It's not
the first
impossible.
time we've seen something that has been suggested in the Labour Relations Amendment Act.
It's absolutely not impossible, and I tell you why. How did they get those people to be members in the first place? When I spoke to Zwelinzima Vavi about this, he said, oh, the petrol pump attendant in some remote area, we can't get hold of him in order to get his secret ballot. But how did they get them, this person, as a member in the first place?
But isn't the difference here being the length of time? If you are going to go on strike and it's something that you feel must be done as soon as possible, if you are going to file an application, say you would like that to happen within the next 48 hours, then that sounds like a reasonable explanation.
It's not. It's absolutely not. If you want a 2/3 majority or a majority, a simple democratic process, and Numsa holds itself out to be a democratic agency, then you have to ensure that people have the right to vote, and the vote is their secret.
So we have people now who are on strike, and we have those at SAA saying that they continue to work despite receiving threats. Is there also legal cause for the union to be found guilty of transgressing the Amendment Act?
Absolutely. It goes against the grain, and this is the very reason for the secret strike ballot, is that those people who want to continue working can continue working without threats, without to their physical body or emotionally or psychologically. And why not? If you don't believe that in the strike, if you don't believe that you're ever going to get your 8%, if you don't believe that the company actually has money to insource as opposed to outsourcing, then you know, you have a right to then continue striking. That's your democratic right. May I just go back to something, and that is the timing of this strike. You know, Numsa goes back to a report by Ernst & Young. That report came out in December 2015, and they're only acting on that report now. Yes, it was an interim report, but there it said that there were procurement problems within SAA that allowed for a looting and a division of, or diluting of the funds within SAA. That was in 2015. Numsa didn't act. Numsa didn't act when Zuma was in power. And allowed, and I could obviously see the looting and allowed this to happen.
But
Why now?
If you say such a huge figure as I think it's 60% of those contracts were improperly negotiated, I mean, that is a large figure, and it will have a domino effect several years later. While I understand what you're saying, that it's too late to act, it's better late than never. So are you saying that they're completely out of bounds to point to that as a reason why SAA cannot afford what they see as a measly 8%?
I'm saying that if you want to ensure that your members keep their jobs, the last thing you should be doing is striking. You should be going to the CCMA. You should be talking, you should be negotiating, you should be placing people in positions of oversight and seeing if they have corrected themselves or about to correct themselves. You know, Tsepiso, if I was to assist employees and employers in this particular scenario, I would certainly advise that perhaps a business rescue should be on the cards so that you get the correct people.
What does
into
that
the
entail? I mean, if the
organisation.
Public Enterprises Minister says something, as he's been quoted as saying that SAA is not too big to fail,
Yes.
what should we read into that?
You should read into the fact that the stakeholders, in other words, your taxpayer, is not going to put one more cent towards SAA. SAA has been bankrupt for the last 25 years. Usually, if you're bankrupt for a year, you go insolvent or you're liquidated. This is an extraordinary length of time to try and get this particular company, the state-owned enterprise, up and running and competitive in the market. Look, SAA is competitive in terms of Africa and the flights that it has in Africa, but domestically it's not.
I mean, I saw a tweet earlier on of a colleague saying that if, I think it's a country like Sweden, if they can accept that they can't afford to run a national carrier, why should South Africa think that it's able to, and should it think that it's able to? And the implication thereof is obviously going private. What are your thoughts on that? Is that what's going to save jobs?
I think that it will make SAA competitive, and it will certainly restructure it in a way and align it in a way that it could then carry on in terms of business for a lot longer than what it is at the moment. At the moment, it's on a precipice, and it could go either way. But if your finance minister and if the minister that is looking after SOEs is stating there is no further money, why flog a dead horse?
Just very quickly, what is the likelihood, do you think, of a sympathy strike? Because Numsa is saying that could possibly be on the table.
Look, I'm a very big believer in unions and employers' organisation following the law. They haven't followed the law in this respect. I don't think that a sympathy union should take flight, excuse the pun, but we'll wait and see.
All right, thank you very much for your time and insights. Natasha Moni is a labour law expert at Moni Attorneys Incorporated. Aldrin?